While it might seem normal now to have women in the forefront role of a superhero film, this is still a relatively unexplored concept and has a lot of room to grow. Even with the success of Wonder Woman, Captain Marvel, and Ant-Man and the Wasp, the three of which being the only Marvel and DC superhero movies to hold the title of a female character in over a decade, women have yet to fully break the stereotype of their role in this genre of film. Female characters fall into very few categories in superhero movies, whether it be the over-sexualized eye candy, the damsel in distress, the hero whose strength is defined by a man, or sometimes a blend of each. But why is this? Are women just pushed aside or sexualized because the superhero genre is generally associated with a male audience? Or are there simply no good stories to tell with a female lead? To answer these questions, I'll be taking a look back at past Marvel and DC movies, explain how fans have responded to them over the years, and glance ahead to see what the future looks like for women in the world of superhero movies. First off, a woman's physical appearance is usually one of the main topics when it comes to superhero films. Oftentimes, their outfits are skin tight and quite revealing for no real reason. In regard to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow has been a staple in the Avengers lineup since the very beginning. In turn, she is the prime example of how to over-sexualize a female. Taking a look back at her first appearance in Iron Man 2, she can be seen in a tight suit with her hair and makeup all done up. Realistically, this is no easy way to go about fighting, but the filmmakers included this in order to please the male audience. And while yes, male actors who play superheroes are often expected to be crazy ripped, their muscle shots are usually contained to once or twice in the movie rather than being a constant like it is for women. In her article, Women's Roles in Superhero Films, Kara Bradshaw says, for the female characters, the male gaze is utilized to sexualize the female character, further misrepresenting women in the media through visual depiction and the starvation of their personal agency. This basically means that rather than focusing on the powers or accomplishments of women, filmmakers would rather show off their bodies. And while this isn't as prevalent as it was back in the early 2000s, it's still a subject of concern. Women also play the role of love interest all too often. Whether they too have powers along with male protagonists, or are just there for moral support, it's rare that women get to shine beyond the men in their movie. James Sharon suggests in his article, Why You Need to Understand Superheroes to Understand Millennial Guys, that the superhero escapist stuff marketed to men isn't very different from the rom-com stuff marketed to women. This implies that women can serve no other purpose than provide the romance or sexuality to the film because this genre is supposedly created specifically for men. This theory is further reinforced by something called the Bechdel test, which consists of 3 questions that test the female representation of a film. In order to pass, the movie must have at least 2 female characters whom share at least one conversation with each other throughout the film about something other than a man. When applied to all Marvel and DC movies in existence, just a little over half of the Marvel movies passed and only 40% of DC films passed. In summary, women have been subjugated to the role of being there in support of a man and not much else. Now let's return to superhero movies titled after female characters. Movies like 2004's Catwoman and 2005's Elektra feature lead female protagonists but perform poorly at the box office and have trash ratings. But what caused this? Well, both of these movies are directed by men, demonstrating poor storytelling and instead focusing on those necessary body shots. How can a woman's story possibly be told accurately when women are rarely given the chance to tell it? It wasn't until 2017's Wonder Woman starring Gal Gadot that a female-led superhero movie was directed by a woman. In his article, Why Women Superhero Movies Always Flop and Why Wonder Woman Won't, Brian Truitt says in regard to Wonder Woman before its release that it's such a great chance for Patty Jenkins to show that women are just as capable of directing these movies as men. And she did, as Wonder Woman went on to be a box office hit with positive reviews from both fans and critics. Since then, Evangeline Lilly's Hope Van Dyne had a leading and titled role in last year's Ant-Man and the Wasp, along with one of the first primary female antagonists, Hannah John Kamen's Ghost, following Cate Blanchett's role as Hela in 2017's Thor Ragnarok. And just last month, Captain Marvel became the highest-grossing female-led movie in history and was also co-directed by a woman. And for the most part, the recent costumes of women have been far less revealing. This change can be clearly seen through Black Widow's costumes over the years. It seems like Hollywood and fans alike have come to see the necessity of leading female roles in superhero films, as it not only gives young girls someone to look up to, but boys a figure to respect for her character rather than her body. While women have always had it rough when it comes to roles in this genre, there are a few standouts who went beyond the stereotype. This can be seen with Halle Berry's Storm, Haley Atwell's Peggy Carter, and Gwyneth Paltrow's Pepper Potts. But it appears that women are on the verge of breaking the mold and are making their way to the front of their lineup with their male co-stars. Kate Harvston says that we're moving in the right direction, but we won't actually get there until a film like Wonder Woman gets released as a superhero movie and not a female superhero movie. With female characters such as Wonder Woman and Captain Marvel being pushed as leads in the Justice League and the Avengers respectively, the female stereotype in superhero movies is nearing its end.